the my memories of going back with Peadar are just extraordinary because apart from Peadar's life as a business lecturer, he was also such a brilliant archaeologist teaching in that and the history, folklore, and of course you can't forget the fish in Loch Corrib. And what he wrote about Loch Corrib in a number of his books, countless, one particular book, Galway in the heart of the West. He described the very foundation, the origins of Loch Corrib, and to me it was just an extraordinary piece that he wrote. And I was actually I'm at the moment writing about Loch Corrib. So what I've done, rather than trying to put my own mind around it, I just took Peadar's piece and parroted it and acknowledged them because nobody could have done it better than he did. He was absolutely extraordinary. And his heart and soul was always in archaeology and history. I remember before he'd be bringing groups around, bus tours on a Sunday, and he'd be bringing them for the Old Galway Society, the Galway Archaeological Historical Society, Untashka, and all of this. And he'd always go on a dry run. He always wanted to make sure the monument was still there. And that's a fact. So I used to so look forward to that. We'd go on a Friday or Saturday, we'd be gone for the day, and it was just absolutely wonderful. And during that period, he taught me so much about, apart from doing archaeology in college and all of that, I learned an awful lot from Peadar in those years, and it gained a massive knowledge of the history of the county through him, because he was always finding new we'll say, monuments and fields that hadn't been looked at before, and borings. We went up and down every boring that was in it. And you can say, the only way I can describe it is the road less travelled. And sometimes you didn't know how you were going to get back. But it was all wonderful. It was a wonderful period. And it's actually very appropriate that this is happening here in the Galway Civic Trust. Peadar was a founder of the Galway Civic Trust. And when he was when he had to retire from it, but when he was moving on to he actually slotted me in his place as a director. Like he was good at that, in fairness to him. In the RTC, like when he finished up teaching archaeology and history, who did he slot in? Myself. And without an interview, brought in, did your job in the story, and the rest of is history. And then when I was doing archaeology in college and in history and all that, he was an absolute brilliant mind. And apart from that, my own son went on to study archaeology and history. And whose notes did he use? Peadar's. We still have them, which is absolutely fantastic. And apart from the gallery here, what's wonderful about it as well is that Peadar, apart from his fishing, he fished for Ireland. He actually was on the Irish team. The Corrib he's known throughout the Corrib, the length and breadth of the Corrib country, knew all the islands. What was even remarkable was he knew all the birds. Peadar could tell you what bird it was without seeing it, by listening. He was absolutely extraordinary like that. And that came from his childhood in school with Mrs. Lee. I remember telling that many years ago. He was able to attract the birds with his own whistling and all of that. And he was just, how would I put it? He was just an all-round extraordinary person. That's what he was. He covered everything in life. He really did. He was into, like to say, raconteur. He really was. He was the ultimate in archaeology, history, folklore, and he knew exactly how to write. But on top of all that, I remember one day I went down with him and he started doing a little drawing. And I said, what do you have, Peadar? And he said, just in case that disappears anytime, he said, I'm going to do a sketch of it. And he always advised me, where we went, take a photograph. You don't have a camera. That time there was no mobile phones. Take a photograph or draw it. No matter how bad the drawing is, draw it. You'll have an idea of what it is and try and get something beside it to give it a dimension. And he did that. But he did a collection. He did a lovely collection of old Galway in sketches. I mean, they're just absolutely incredible. And they're going to find a good home in the not too distant future. And those drawings are extraordinary now because he drew all of the old streets of Galway, the different monuments like Lynch's Castle, the Lynch Memorial Window, St. Nicholas's. And what was amazing about St. Nicholas's, 30 years ago after Peadar doing those drawings, they were using them as children came in. They'd have their photocopies and they took them away to give the children a competition to go around the church and colour in the different drawings and all of that, which was amazing. But and apart from that, the actual site that we're on, the Red Earl's Hall, this was very dear. The whole city was dear to his heart. He knew every stone and every block in it. And he has a collection of photographs there going back to the 1950s and 60s, which was just extraordinary as well. And I'm hoping to do something with those in the not too distant future as well. But Peadar, we used to go for walks, and he introduced it to this and that. But I'll never forget, as secretary of the Galway Archaeological Historical Society, and I'm delighted the former president, Bernie O'Hara, Peadar's best friend, is here with us today as well. The society had a great knowledge of the city, and apart from that, they were to the fore with protecting monuments. And the society knew that when they were developing this area, this wasn't supposed to be open. The car park was here. They decided to uproot, and Peadar, Bernie were probably involved in it as well, came down and he told them exactly what was under the ground, without geophysics or anything. It had it on the 1651 map, a very important map. And when that was uncovered, it had to be preserved, and it took a major role in that, in having this whole area preserved for posterity, which is just an incredible feat. And I look it up now at the nets, and somebody asked me there recently, they said, like, what are more than no nets up there for? And when this opened first, there was the pigeons started to nest in here, and all the droppings were going down on the stones. So we were trying to figure out what we were doing. Of course, we asked Peadar one day, and lo and behold, he said the pigeons will always find someplace else if you put up a few nets. So we preserved them in a lot of other ways. But I just want to say, from my own personal feelings, is that I'm missing something terrible. There isn't the night I don't think of him, to be honest with you. I just miss the banter that we used to have, and I really miss all of those dry runs, because they were so, when we're going through it, you don't think of the future of this, you just think of the present, and it's just absolutely wonderful. And like Professor Etienne Rinn was a very close friend of his as well, and I'll never forget, it was down in Tune that I was doing the history, and the next thing was Etienne was always archaeology. Nothing else mattered, because he used to say history is history, but archaeology is the science of history. You can prove you're wrong, So I'll never forget, Peadar told him, he said, just want to let you know, Etienne, this is now, must be 40 years ago, I just want to let you know, he said, that Willie is going to do the archaeology. And this was up in the site, Classer, not further long to Bernie's book on that brought us up there. Bernie, in fact, led a lot of expeditions up to Classer and County Mayo for all the monuments, that actually new monuments that were uncovered by Bernie and his colleagues. And I'll never forget it. And we're coming down from not further long to him, and Peadar caught up with me, and he said, "Come here, I want to talk to you." I said, "What's that, Peadar?" He said, and he was laughing. He thought this was hilarious, like he was chuckling with it. And I said, "What's up, Peadar?" He said, "Etienne told me there," he said, "if Willie is really serious about this archaeology, he'd better get used to calling me professor." And for 1 year, I didn't call him anything. But those are the memories. That's what he enriched my life. The only way I can say it. He was a major influence on everything I did, and he supported me in every way. And he did this for anybody that was interested. And his heart and soul was in ensuring the preservation of Galway through teaching the youth as well. He actually gave his time freely on numerous occasions to ensure that Galway didn't lose its heritage. And because of him and the likes of him, we have a city today that's thriving. 50 years ago, it wasn't thriving. And most of the older people like myself would remember it. But it was the likes of Peadar O'Dowd and a number of others that brought this city to life and gave it its culture and heritage. And when 2020 came and we got the City of Culture, I said, those are the people that should be thanked. And I make no apology for saying that. Those are the people that should have been thanked for giving us the city of culture, not some crowd from Dublin. And I'm being deadly serious about this, and I don't care where, I have to be honest with myself talking about that man. And that's the legacy that Peadar and a number of others have left us. It's just an extraordinary legacy, and he's passed it down. And I can't get up in the morning, I can't walk down to the streets of Galway. I don't see the streets as they are today. I see them as Peadar O'Dowd explained it to me. The Red Earl's Hall, the Red Earl's Lane, do you know, all of this. So with those few words, I'd like to say thanks very much to everybody for listening to me and putting up with me for the last 2 minutes, I suppose. It was an absolute honour and privilege to be here and to remember my buddy. And in fact, Paul Welsh, the great archaeologist of this country, senior archaeologist in St. Brendan's School with Peadar, with me. Peadar was a little bit before us. He wrote to me during the week an email, and he was talking about a drawing. He sent me a drawing that Peadar did in 1978 that was published in the St. Patrick's Parish magazine, and he sent me on the drawing, beautiful, of St. Brendan's School. Lovely one. And he said, just the last word on this, what he said, is that he said, this is Peadar's 1978, the first magazine that he was a founder of, that's become Galway's own. He was the founder of that as well. And he said, this he said, is for the wonderful friend that you and I had in Peadar O'Dowd. And he said, his legacy is incredible. He didn't know this was happening today, by the way. And he said, his legacy is just incredible. And he said, his memory should be honoured in Galway. Wow. And that coming from the head of the OPW, former archaeologist, senior in Ireland, the man that followed Sean O'Neill. Okay, folks, okay, thanks very much for...